You're listening to On Mission with Dr. Matt Davis, a podcast designed to explore the personal mission of everyday leaders. Hear from men and women who are making a difference in their corner of the world and discover what keeps them on mission. And welcome to On Mission. My name is Matt Davis, and our guest today is Coach Jarid Lawson. He is the Assistant Athletic Director here at Maranatha Baptist University in his first year in that particular role, and off to a great start. He's also the head women's soccer coach and doing a phenomenal job with them, and we'll talk about amazing on-field success as well as off the field, I'm sure, as they have racked up a bunch of wins in a row. I'm trying to think about how long it's been since we string together 4 wins in a row, but you could be looking at 5 or 6.
Yeah, we could be looking pretty close to the 5 or 6 number.
Let's go.
That's exciting. We like it.
Keep it rolling. Jared and his wife, Lindsay, have 4 children, Aiden, Summer, Xander, and Kinsley. Jared's first job was at his church, working in the custodial department.
Absolutely.
An inauspicious start, as they say.
That's right.
He enjoys board games, sports, of course, woodworking, and as time permits, hunting and fishing. His favorite meal is steak and potatoes, grilled on the grill at home. Amen.
That's right. So cooking your own food is the best.
What are we doing here?
Right?
Let's get home and do it. Favorite sports teams are the Kansas City Royals, Kansas City Chiefs, and Liverpool Football Club.
Yeah, that might be Coach Pill's influence over the years.
Listen, me too. All right.
It's great. It's
most
great.
indirectly through my son, but we can cheer for at least one team in common in that particular list.
Hey, there we go.
Hey, Jared, welcome to the podcast.
It's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
So you have 4 kids, and I mean, you went with Xander. I love the name. How did you come up with that?
Yeah, so Alexander is a family name.
Okay.
And but my wife and I don't like the name Alex, so
you wanted to make sure it was Alexander, but not Alex.
Exactly. So it's the Xander, so it's still kind of the ode to the family, but kind of gives him the uniqueness.
It sounds powerful.
Oh,
I mean, you expect to.
He's a ball of energy for sure. It fits well. It fits him well.
And you guys have just jumped right in here at Maranatha Church. It's just been wonderful to see your family as you go through that. I don't know what board games you like. Is there a particular board game? So
we really do kind of the spread, right? So we can go anything from like a Settlers of Catan to, some of the new. We like a game called Moonrakers. I don't know if you know anything
I never played
about.
That one.
It's kind of a engine builder with some deck building involved. So if you know board games, you kind of know what I'm talking about. If not, it's okay. It's a little more extensive than Monopoly and
How long does
Trouble.
More expensive, more extensive than Monopoly. Okay. How long does it take to play a whole game?
Typically about an hour. Like we don't get into the 2 and 3 hour. That's my brother, so I'll let him do that.
Days long.
Yeah. Where I get bored a little too easily to be able to do that.
Your brother's a bit of a legend around here too. You better tell us who he is.
Yeah. So my brother is Craig Lawson. He was. I think he's student body president in 14 maybe, but then he's out at Camp Ironwood as the program director out there, having a blast. In fact, he was here maybe 2 weeks ago doing some recruiting. So
yeah, it's been awesome to see. I always love it when students that I remember really well, right, when they come back and just see how the Lord's been working in their life, and the enthusiasm is still there, the nostalgia all of a sudden, and it's like, wait a minute, it wasn't that long ago. I still remember that.
Right. So you walk around campus and it's like, man, it didn't seem like 15, 18 years ago that we were students.
Exactly. Exactly. So have you done much hunting or fishing since you moved to Wisconsin?
Not since Wisconsin.
Okay.
So we've explored a little bit. We've done a little hiking with the kids and things like that, but I did a little bit in Montana. But again, that's a hard one when time is filled with kids sports and
you're kind of in that sweet spot for lots of miles on the minivan.
Oh yeah. Thankfully, we went with the Suburban, so got to haul people and their stuff, and so I couldn't pull the trigger on the whole minivan.
You're not the minivan guy.
I just couldn't do it. So
you can't improve on the efficiency of space of a box. I mean, right? There's no getting around just the sheer capacity.
Absolutely.
Utility.
Just throw it all in there. We can make it happen. So
well, that's great. So, all right, you've been involved with education
Yep.
and with athletics in a ministry context, in a secular context as well, throughout your life. And, this is the On Mission podcast. So I hit you with kind of a deep question here at the beginning of our conversation, and that is, what is your mission in life?
Yeah, I think it's a great question, and I think it's a great opportunity to kind of think through why and purpose, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I think of my life verses are Psalm 31, 1 through 3. And it's David asking the Lord for protection, for guidance, for even forgiveness as you get towards the end. But verse 3 specifically is, "You're my rock and my fortress, and for your name's sake, lead and guide me." And I think that's a large part of what goes into our kind of family's life mission, but my personal mission statement is the believer. The foundation for the believer is to honor, glorify Christ, and become more like Him, right? But specifically for me, on that foundation is I desire to teach and coach those who desire to teach and coach. I want to use what the Lord has given me to make a difference in lives so that they can take those same skills and abilities and use them moving forward. And sports is a great avenue for that.
Sure. And I want to definitely get into why you chose sports in particular as the vehicle for that. But as you look at and break down that passage, it's really, I don't know that I've ever thought about verse 3 as a life verse type of a verse, but isn't that a wonderful way to look at it? For thou art my rock and my fortress, therefore for thy name's sake, lead me and guide me. It gives kind of a purpose to life.
Absolutely.
And a direction, right?
Absolutely. And I think that's the key part, is knowing why am I doing what I'm doing. Our life has traveled, right? We've gone from Kansas City to Phoenix, Arizona, to Montana, and now to Wisconsin. So
you finally arrived.
Yeah, right. I said in college I would never live back here again.
I get that a lot.
The Lord has funny ways of doing that. So, but seeing God lead and giving, you start to see purpose even for why He did some things in the past and why He prepared that specific role or that friendship, that mentor, and you see some of those things where it's verse 3, right? It's the purpose of why we do this, and then Lord, lead on.
So let's talk about what that path looked like and how it unfolded for you and your family. You graduated from Maranatha.
Yeah.
Back in 2009?
In 2010 officially, because I did student teaching in the spring of 10.
Okay, so Dr. Marriott was just beginning, right, as the president then at that point?
So funny, I came back on campus, got my diploma from Dr. Marriott, and never once was he really the president that I remember.
Nice to meet you. Thanks for the diploma.
Great to see you. So, and we did have some fun with that. But we came back on campus from January to May. I did student teaching in a 4th, 5th grade combo classroom at the Christian school I grew up in.
Really? And, so that was a neat door to open up.
Absolutely. In fact, I asked for that specific teacher because I never had her. She was the one teacher I didn't have that was still there, and so it was neat to learn a lot from.
What grades was it?
4th and 5th.
Oh, that must have been fun.
Oh, yeah. Man. And so I realized I love my elementary education degree, and I realized I want junior hires.
Really?
So
I don't know if that sentence has ever been uttered in the English language.
Not many people long for the junior hires, but it's a fun group. So I loved my time under Kathy DeShawn there in Kansas City and learning a lot. But I did also learn that I need kids who can think a little.
That's a pretty key relationship, isn't it, between the cooperating teacher and the student teacher? You want to describe a little bit about what that process looks like?
Yeah. So I think the importance is finding a spot for you to fit. So as an educator, as a teacher, as a believer in your, where do you fit in, and where can you get plugged in? And Ms. DeShawn was a great opportunity to, hey, I want to teach you how to teach. how to apply all of these things that you've been sitting in a
She
classroom.
didn't take for granted that you had those skills.
Absolutely.
Even if you'd heard them. It's a
And
different thing to do them.
Yes, it was much more, okay, you're going to take little bits and little pieces, and you saw some of those. And I appreciate the days that I had with her, because I know I had other friends who didn't have that same experience in student teaching. And so she just did a great job of, and when she felt comfortable that her class was in good hands, she was able to kind of hand things off, which was awesome.
And then you just are the man.
Yeah, and then had fun for about 3 weeks of just being the guy. And she would at times take the other class while I was teaching, like 4th grade or 5th grade, and she might do that. But a lot of it was, hey, jump in and see what you got.
That must be a little nerve-wracking for the cooperating teacher. But if they get a decent student teacher in, that could be awesome.
Right.
I mean, like, take the load off for 3 weeks and just go with it.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'm
wonder
just
how
going to sit at my desk.
I need to get a student CEO to come in and just, like,
good luck with that one.
For 3 weeks. Here you go, kid.
You might be more stressed than
They might do a better job,
Right.
Take all those great ideas and make it happen.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome.
Well, all right, who do I need to talk to make that happen? All right, we'll do it. So you student teach in Kansas City. You come back and graduate, and now you need a job.
Absolutely.
Did that open up?
Yeah. So I got hired right out of student teaching. They needed a PE teacher for the guys, and then they needed some maintenance things. So I fulfilled a lot lot of roles.
So they kind of cobbled together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I helped in the maintenance department quite a bit. I helped. I taught some junior high science classes, and then I taught PE from 7th to 10th grade. So it was a lot. It was a lot of fun. And coached some soccer, both guys and girls, and just.
Was that your first formal coaching experience?
Yeah. As the head coach, yes.
Okay.
And so a lot of assistant coaching where I kind of jumped in and helped, but this was the first opportunity I got then. In fact, some of the guys who came here were some of my first players. So John Sheely and Matt Sheely were both players
kidding?
of mine. Yeah, no, it was a blast. We had a great time together. And
how fun is
John
that?
was my goalie, and Matt played in various situations and in positions. So.
Wow, I didn't know John was the goalie.
Yeah, John was the goalie.
Goalies are a little
crazy,
a little different.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you got to be 90% crazy and about 10% skilled.
Okay. I had observed that. I didn't know if your coaches looked at it the same way.
Oh, absolutely.
But they just have a different level of like that. The instinct for self-preservation is just missing. They have to be willing.
I'm just gonna throw myself at the ground, the pole, a random person. Yeah, absolutely.
So, God bless them. I'm glad for them.
Yeah, we need them. That's for sure.
So that's crazy. All right. So when you graduated from Maranatha, engaged, dating, married,
so
ready to go.
Lindsay and I got engaged the last spring semester I was here. And
really?
So
how did you meet?
So because
she didn't go here.
So correct. So she got hired by the school I grew up at and taught in the classroom next to my mom. So my family kind of adopted her as a young single. She was from Arizona, went to school in Minnesota, and then
they didn't have any ulterior motives for that, did they?
Not that I know of.
That seems a little suspicious.
So yeah, right. Well, at the time, Lindsay was in a relationship, and so it wasn't even a thought process to me. So
not to her,
right? So I came home. We met her over, in fact, Christmas break. Met her. Okay, you're part of our family.
Nice
Sweet
to meet you.
Yeah, great. Okay. How's it going? Okay, moving on. And but then really came back from college that spring of 2009, and we got to talking a little bit, or I guess spring of 2008 is when it was. And so I got talking with her because I was doing sophomore field work at the school, and so kind of got to know a bunch of people. Well, most of them, they were my teachers. They were people I've grown up with my whole life. Mm-hmm. And so, hey, meet the new people. And so I was teaching her how to run a book for a softball and baseball tournament.
Okay.
And so she'd never done it before, so we were sitting up there just kind of teaching. So got to know each other, became friends, and one thing led to another. And later that summer, we started dating, and
I don't know who that other schmo was.
Yeah,
I hope he's
yeah,
not listening, but he's like, got you on a list, man.
There it is, right?
Jarid Lawson ruined my life.
So I hope that is not the case, but
it wasn't God's will.
So that's right.
That's
and
right.
then so it's fun to see how God leads, and so
That's
it's been
amazing.
exciting.
So that was actually in your undergrad, and then you go back and student teach, and she's still there.
Yep. And so we, at that time when we student taught, we had gotten married right before my student teaching started.
Oh, you didn't tell me that part. Okay.
So we were engaged for about 9 months. The last semester I was here, we were trying to plan a wedding. That was chaotic. We had first planned.
Well,
June.
you're not as involved in the planning.
That's
it's
true.
Fine.
That's
just,
thankfully
yes,
I could just whatever you say. I got this. So we planned a June wedding. My dad was supposed to be deployed. My dad spent 27 years in the Air Force and another, I think 4 or 5 in the Marine Corps. And so, but Dad was supposed to get deployed, opposite way, actually. He started in the Marine Corps, went to the Air Force.
Okay.
And so we were trying to figure out what works best with a teaching
Family
schedule,
and
right?
teaching and deployment.
So we decided to get married Christmas break. So we got married January 1st of 2010.
Fun.
And 6 days later, started my student teaching.
Your parents appreciate the January 1 instead of the December 31st
Yeah, they did.
for tax purposes.
They absolutely did that. Yeah,
they were able to claim the whole year. So.
and I figured, later in life, if I can't forget that it's the first day of the year.
You could, but it'd be hard.
Yeah, exactly.
That's amazing. So you got married, then did your student teaching. That really, getting placed there was really helpful that you were able to make that work.
Very helpful. So
for a lot of reasons.
Mr. Handy's, that was a great piece in having that, and so it was nice to be able to make sure that all fit together well.
Now she's a Pillsbury graduate.
She is. She's a 07 Pillsbury grad.
We claim them.
We do.
Yeah.
We do.
They're
them.
Alumni Association now,
exactly.
consolidated here.
And
so
she definitely appreciates that. So Lindsay calls it the Pilly Takeover with Jody Faithful and Coach Fuller and
like the
Paul.
revenge.
There's a bunch of them coming, right? So
Pillsbury's revenge.
The Pillsbury's revenge is coming back. So hey, great people, right? When we love.
That's a
having
deep
them,
joke.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I enjoy talking to our little Pillsbury contingent.
Oh,
they have a much different perspective on the miracle of Maranatha.
They do, don't they?
They were on the business end of that miracle. But yeah, that was it's fun. And honestly, we have some really key folks that have the benefit of a Pillsbury education
Absolutely.
and serve the Lord so faithfully. And I'm very thankful for the legacy of the institution in that way. And Lindsay would certainly be among those. She is our women's volleyball coach.
She is.
And I'm not even going to go there yet. It's too soon to assess if this is working for both of you to be coaching. It's crazy.
Give them time. She's doing the right things. So it's good.
Well, stuff. I just mean with you coaching, with her, with the family, running a million miles.
The chaos is real.
Well, like tomorrow, you guys are leaving at dark 30, I think.
Yeah, way too early in the morning. I think we're leaving at like 5:15, somewhere in there, and heading to Michigan. And Lindsay's here with her first home matches this weekend, so that's good. And then next week, thankfully, we have family who come up and help, because next week, I think we're at Faith and she's in Michigan. So
fun. The reverse.
So makes it a lot of chaos, a lot of moving parts. But
you have to be
a lot of support,
your family calendar has to be pretty well thought out.
It's there. It's definitely there. It's a giant calendar getting written out. Who's picking up who and where are they getting dropped off? And
let's see, the oldest is 13.
Yep. So the older two do a good job for the most part of when they're both home and
not
nothing's
quite
going
driving
on.
yet, though.
They can at least. But thankfully we live like a block and a half from Calvary, so.
That's good.
The kids.
How are the kids adjusting? Making friends? It seems
they are.
Like it.
So they are loving it.
They don't seem like
they're
jump
in.
Not too shy or anything.
No, occasionally they'll act like it, but they're really not.
Yeah.
So they jump in. They're friendly. They get to know all of them, which is really neat. They're not cliquey, so they really enjoy meeting new people and becoming friends and having a good group. So.
It's fun to be at this point in the cycle where we can see how things kind of turned out at this point in life. But as we think back to how you got here, and especially in light of that mission that you have a sense of purpose and eternal goals in mind for you, for your family. You guys get married that January, you're student teaching, you graduate, you get that first job, but you're really only there another year.
Right.
And the adventure kind of takes a bit of a twist. And I wonder how it was clear to you how to make that decision as to where to go and have the confidence that that's really what God wants me to do.
Right. And I think that's the rub at a lot of times, right? How do I know this is the right choice? How do I know? Do I move my family 1,800 miles away? Right.
We can look back and see, oh, good decision.
Right. Right.
But
in the moment, it's not. And right. So a lot of counsel, right? So we talk to family, we talk to friends, we talk to mentors and counselors, pastors, just what this is what we're thinking. Here's the scenario. What is best and how do you do that? And I think a lot of it is prayer, and a lot of it is counsel. Mm-hmm. And then you allow the Lord to do what the Lord does best, and that's hold on to the details, right? The Lord is in the details, as many have told us in the past, right? So we, as best we could, we tried to plan. We tried to gather information. Even in the move to Arizona, it became it was the right move for our church needs, and the church and school in Kansas City had been through a lot, and I grew up in a lot of that, and loved it. They were struggling. We weren't sure how we fit in that piece. And I think that was just part of the Lord saying, it's time. I have a different spot for you. And so, but when we looked at Arizona, where Lindsay's from, we knew too that there weren't jobs in ministry like we wanted there to be at first. So we spent really the first 2 years in Arizona not doing what we had studied to do, not doing. Oh, really? We had volunteered, we were coaching, we were involved in the church. But we were working secular jobs, right? Lindsay was taking pictures for Life Touch. I was working at Firehouse Subs,
school photos.
Yeah, absolutely, always. Right?
Do they train them to wait for you to make a weird face and then?
I think so. No, okay, knowing Lindsay's like, no, they did not train us to do that, but that's exactly what it seems like, right? Like when you're just not quite all there.
I'm just teasing.
But they're fun. But so for a year she was doing that.
Did you feel like around. You were in the wilderness during
Absolutely.
that time? Yeah.
I felt like I have a college degree that I'm still paying for at the time, and I'm going and I'm working at a fast food restaurant. Now, hindsight being what hindsight is, the Lord taught me a lot of leadership skills. It taught me a lot of the ability just to how do you work with people who maybe don't work so well? How do you mentor people through that? But at the time, in the moment, that was not what I was thinking. I was thinking, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Right. At that point we had Aiden. He was all of 4 months old when we moved to Phoenix. And then in the midst of still looking for a job, summer comes along. Now at that time, Lindsay started working at Tri-City Christian Academy there in Chandler, and I was in Tempe at the time, and then we moved to Chandler. They moved to Chandler, and then I was still looking for a teaching job. And push came to shove. The Lord really provided an opportunity to go to a job fair for a large charter school organization, and got a job. Was driving about an hour to the western side of Phoenix, and but had a great experience. Learned a lot. My one of my admins was a believer. Just a lot of great opportunities to work in a very, very inner city school. So made it difficult. Had 40 plus junior hires in each one of my classes.
Wow, that's too many.
And there's a lot, yeah, right. And
did you have
trying to teach them science? No. So
1 to 40.
1 to 40. My smallest class I think was 32. My largest class was 42. But learned a ton, and realized for 2 years we did that. Had a blast volunteering and things like that. But I was driving 100 plus miles a day.
That's a lot of miles. Yeah.
And so we were driving from there. I was still volunteering at Tri-City as helping with coaching. and we were driving there and home, and we were on the far east side.
I see now that you have a bit of a problem with overcommitment.
A little bit, right?
So,
hey, when we're in, we're all in
Yeah.
for sure. And the Lord had to teach us some of those things too, because over time we got jobs both at in ministry at Tri-City. Spent 4 years in public education first, and then jumped over to Tri-City full time, where I was able to be the assistant administrator.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, Coach Brown was tired of being
So that you met
an admin.
You met the Browns, our
Yep.
current athletic director. Okay, when you were at Tri-City.
So at Tri-City, yeah.
Okay.
In fact, Coach Brown was Lindsay's basketball coach her junior and senior year of high school.
An amazing
So
coach.
they had absolutely. And so I coached a little bit with Paul. And then he had hired me to do some assisting and some coaching of the girls' teams.
So what is your coaching lineage? We talk about like the DNA of a coach,
Yeah,
is
right?
all the different coaches that they've had. But you had Coach Pill, right? Here.
Yeah, so I had Coach Pill here. I had Lynn Hesuinger in high school,
Uh-huh.
who was down at Faith in Indiana now. So I had great coaches.
What's
Great
it
coaches.
like to step in? I know I'm getting ahead a little bit of the timeline, but what's it like to step into a role where you're now working as a peer with, I mean, let's be honest, with our great coaches, we kind of idolize them a little bit. They
No,
become
you're
like
right.
heroes.
You're right.
That's got to be kind of cool to
Oh,
work
it's-
alongside your heroes.
It is one of the coolest things, and at the same time, it's one of the most intimidating things, right? So the girls were asking me this summer, hey, what's the, what are you most nervous about? And I was like, I have to follow that guy. And,
Yeah.
point to Coach Pill. And when you're coaching with someone who has forgot more about soccer than it is an intimidating thing. But
What a resource, though, too.
and that's it. And that's what he wants to be. And I
Yeah.
think that's a huge part of it. Is
Some guys are super like egotistical and it's
Right.
all about them. But
not
our
the
coaching
case.
staff and even Coach Brown, I mean, all his accomplishments and his
Right.
ability, but just one of the most humble, others-oriented
Yeah.
people.
And they want to pour into everyone their love for their sport.
Yeah.
And what that sport can do for the cause of Christ. And I think that was the draw, right? As much as coming and being involved in Maranatha, like some of it was, I'm learning from some of the best minds when it comes to sports and Christian sports.
Amazing. So I do want to come back to that because I want to ask you some
Absolutely.
questions about the philosophy for athletics and how it can be used and teaching some of those things. But you guys, I mean, that's the heyday. Your family's growing. God's adding. All the rest of the kids are born there, I guess, probably.
Yeah. So all the
Chandler.
other ones were born in Chandler. In fact, with even that, we had 3 international students that lived with us on at times. So that was big international school program at Tri-City there in Chandler. And
Is that how it works? Like they stay with the staff?
not just staff. Often we try to make it church members.
Okay.
So they often, hey,
So
we
they
have
get housing
we have a
and-
group, or we have a couple of kids who needs.
Wow, cool.
In fact, we got the one. In fact, I get to see Andy this weekend, and he's out at Cornerstone University, and playing basketball for them. But stayed with us for 3 years. Did all of his high school there at TCA, and but we call him our Costa Rican kid. He's been a part of our family, so we love that. The Lord just again opened doors for us to be able to do those things, and that Andy was a specific one from a missionary friend in Costa Rica. Said, "Hey, we got a good kid. Can he stay with you?" And that was a tough one for us because
It's a
we're
lot
like,
to ask.
I don't know.
We were crazy.
we got young kids and we're crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
we've
This
lost our
is-
minds apparently.
No,
so.
this is we're busy. We got a lot going on, but just to be willing to say yes to the Lord, and when He opens
Absolutely.
that door, then just the tremendous ministry that
Right, and it really has turned into that. It was a great opportunity we had a couple other kids that came from Costa Rica about a year after Andy joined us, and family friends of theirs, unsafe kids, and opportunities to just present the gospel, but also opportunities to again use athletics because they came to the States to play basketball, right? And
that might have been their motivation.
That was their motivation.
God had something else in mind.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And so those are just really sweet opportunities that we got while we were there. And then the Lord kind of showed us it was time to do something else, and we didn't know what that was.
Well, you end up in Montana, but as I understand it, that was for a very specific ministry purpose.
It really was.
You guys, Chandler was the sweet spot. And, it wasn't that, I just, got to get out of here type thing at all. It was almost the opposite, but yet you just felt that God needed you to do something different for a particular purpose.
So we had spent a couple of summers visiting family in Montana. My Lindsay's aunt and uncle have lived up there for better part of about 15 years now. And we finally got a chance to go visit them. They were kind of instrumental in Lindsay's life, just being there for Lindsay. Lindsay's mom been single for about 20 years, and just they kind of stepped and filled some of that family void that was there. And but they're unsaved, and we saw a great opportunity to continue a relationship, love them, wonderful, wonderful people. They get involved in community, they get involved but unsaved and need the Lord. And so we looked at it as the Lord opened some doors, and we thought maybe this is the opportunity we have to present the gospel to family.
Wow.
And so we spent 2 years building relationship and talking and still praying for them.
Yeah.
Still talk to them a couple times a month or so, and just have a blast getting to know them better and having different opportunities to present the gospel.
And only in eternity will you know all the ins and outs of what God was doing with some of that.
Absolutely.
That's when we started talking towards the end of that.
Right.
And it seemed that maybe even a new opportunity and a new challenge would come along. And you're now the assistant athletic director and head coach for soccer, and also going to take on a spring sport, right, with softball.
Yep.
And so you got some big shoes to fill on both ends of the spectrum, because
right.
Coach Thompson has coached softball here for many, many years, and looking forward to that challenge as well. Maybe a little bit of a breather in the winter sports season.
Yeah, hopefully, right? that would
when
be
you
nice.
can start picking up, and then that's when Coach Brown is coaching the women's team. So you're going to have a lot of office
some
duties.
of that stuff. Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right. So yeah, it's busy. Yeah, it's, we've called it crazy or whatever. You're going a million different directions. But is it worth it? What is the point? And I guess as we talk about that, maybe the framing of this that I'd like to use is what is the purpose of athletics in a Christian school or a Christian college context? How do you view that? What it can accomplish? And, is it just an outlet for fitness? Is it just for, having a good time or being competitive and, notching another championship? Or is there something bigger going on with that?
So I think it's all of those things, but it's definitely the bigger, right? We love winning. Right, who doesn't?
Of course.
Right, and if you're going to do something, do it well. And so I think there's large parts of it that, we want to win, and we want to coach so that we have a win. But really, the goal is, I want to use sports as an avenue for the gospel. I love. Our ministry team went out this summer, right? Soccer ministry team went out this summer, and the thing that the players came back from wasn't, we met this kid or this one's was 5 kids got saved last week, right? We got the opportunity to present the God. Like, that's what I think the importance of Christians in sports is, right? Our world loves entertainment, right? And athletics is a large part of that.
Sure.
So let's use that avenue to present the gospel. Let's use that avenue for discipleship, right? So coaching in a Christian school, the opportunity is, hey, I'm shoulder to shoulder with 18 guys, 12 girls, whatever it might be, and let's teach you what it's supposed to look like, right? You're learning leadership skills. I think the thing that Coach brings more than soccer in and of itself, Coach Pill brought these core beliefs, right, to us. Why do we do soccer the way we do soccer? And that's the motivator to me. The motivator to me is, hey, we want to do things excellent. Why? Because God's word shows us what excellence is supposed to look like, right? We want to do this in love. There's enthusiasm. But why? Because ultimately the goal is Christ-likeness.
As you've become the coach for the women's soccer team, have you carried on that core belief strategy with the players?
Absolutely. And we went over it in preseason together. We talk about it almost daily, where it comes up. Hey, because we get tired, and you have to get reminded that, man, I need that enthusiasm back, or I need to take the courage to stand up to a teammate when they're doing the wrong thing, when a roommate when they're doing the wrong things, and so using those core beliefs as topics of conversation. So it's not anymore. It's not just this is what coach wants. It's this is what our program is, and you see the students even using it. Hey, and I love our awards.
Yeah.
That it's not just focused on sport. It's focused on the people we're trying to impact.
As the parent of a player, my son Mike is a senior and captain on the men's team, and I have seen firsthand, or I guess secondhand, what the impact is of our athletic programs on the student athlete in his life, his growth, his development, the peers that he's been able to hook in with, the things that are important to them, the relationships that have been built, but then also the leadership opportunities that have developed as, demonstrated closer and closer to those team core values and beliefs.
Right.
And seeing that in action as a parent, I realized, man, this is priceless. This is so much more. This isn't a distraction from his studies. This has actually made his studies better.
Yeah.
Ironically, all the extra hours not spent on studies has actually enhanced the off the field pursuits as well, because it's made him into a better man.
Absolutely.
And so as a parent, that's my perspective. But let me frame the question this way to you, maybe for your perspective on that. What would you say to a parent who was considering sending a student athlete to Maranatha in particular, and maybe a prospective player on your team or any of our other opportunities, about why that's a uniquely valuable experience here, and kind of help them understand what to expect?
I think it's because there's more beyond sports, right? 99% of student athletes at Maranatha are not doing sports after this. Maybe recreationally,
sure,
but not competitively, right? So our job is to use athletics, our sports teams, as another avenue of teaching, right? So this is a great opportunity for them to learn how to build character, right? And sports does that in a snapshot, right?
Yeah.
It is life in a bunch of quick little opportunities that I have to make the right decision. And that is a selling point. As a parent, for me, that's a selling point. As an athlete coming to Maranatha 20 years ago, it was, because it was more than just athletics. It was missions trips. It was applying what we were learning in the classroom and using sports as that avenue. So I sent out some emails this week to girls who are interested in women's soccer, and attached to that email is, this is who we are. It's our core beliefs. Like we want athletics to go up. We want to get better. We want to improve. But ultimately, this is who we are, and this is who we're going to stay.
Sometimes people say, well, it's about character development, and I always think, oh, they must have a terrible record, right? Or They say it's just about having fun, and there's been even a trend in society to kind of downplay the competitiveness and the standings and things like that. And of course, I'm a big fan. I claim to be number one fan. There are other people claim to be number one fans. But I think, yeah, I want to have fun, and you know what's fun? Winning.
Right?
So
right? You know what's more fun than getting crushed?
Yeah.
Winning the game.
Now, the reality is, no matter what level you are in sports, unless you are winning an Olympic gold medal or an NBA championship, there will always be another level that's better than you.
Right.
And so usually it's a matter of relative competition. And if you're crushing everyone every year all the time, you're probably in the wrong division. You know, you probably are punching down, and you need to find a competitive level that's going to push you.
Right. And that's why winning can't be the ultimate. Right. We've said throughout the years as we've coached, like, we give 100% effort 100% of the time. And why is that? Because sometimes winning that game, we knew we were going to win that game going in. So if I could give 50% and we'd still win, but did I get any better today? Did I improve for what the goal is at the end of the season, right? Paul's brother James says, hey, play every game like it's a championship game, because one day you might be in one, right? And there's again the idea that I can't do it to just this level, right? I'm doing all to the glory of God, which means against the worst opponent, against the best opponent, I'm giving my best.
Can you think of an example, either from your coaching career or even as a player, of just an insight for somebody who's maybe never had that kind of relationship with a coach, a conversation or something specific that helped or that transcended maybe the question itself and was actually more about life, or you know what I mean? This is, I'll give you an example just that I overheard. I remember Coach Pill, after the game, one of our captains was upset because the ball was just the way the game developed. A few things bounced in the other team's direction, and we ended up coming in second in that game. And this player was really upset at the officials, which is a pretty common complaint, obviously, especially when you lose. I never hear people complaining too much about the officials when they win. But I remember Coach's answer almost had nothing to do with the officials or even that game, but just took him back to life. And, I thought, wow, he saw something more in this conversation than what the topic that was presented.
And Coach has a great way of doing that. I remember from high school, I remember my last game in high school, we won regional championship. Of course, it's your senior year, so you're like, it's over. Like, what now?
I'll never play another game.
I'll never do this again,
matters.
right? And I remember Coach coming by and he goes, "There's more to soccer," because at the time I was playing soccer, but there's more to soccer than being a player. And I think at that point, and we talked many times between, that date in October sometime and in graduation, and it was the importance of using what God's giving you to be. And so it was really his influence most that said, as much as I know I want to be a teacher, coaching, I have coaches from 6 years old. Coach Garrison was my 6-year-old baseball coach.
Oh, yeah.
He and my dad, right? And so I have coaches from 6 to, today that I get to share the field with, and that have just shown that those guys have made a lot of difference in how I became the person I've become, in pointing us back to Christ, in being competitive and having fun on the field. So Coach Hesuinger was great with those things in terms of, let's remember why we're doing this. He was competitive. He got us, he pushed us to do the right things and play the sport the right way. But when it came down to it, it was, no, there's more to soccer than this game.
Yeah. And yet every interaction that we have as believers is given to us as an opportunity to do what your life verse talks about in terms of living for God's name's sake, for the glory of God, in a way that transcends whatever the immediate context of that might be, whether it's soccer or some other athletic competition, or whether it's some musical event that we're participating in, or just even workplace conversations that we have. Education and coaching are very specifically oriented towards discipleship,
Absolutely.
mentoring. Other professions are a little more of a stretch. But I appreciate in your testimony how every situation you found yourself in, even working in the fast food environment, you still described it in context of the opportunities you had with the coworkers. And it's almost like you kind of saw, whether it's just your personality or was intentional, everything is almost a coaching environment, team environment.
Right. And it is, like, I feel whether you're a teacher or a coach or not, parents teach, right? Sunday school teachers teach. Like, we learn from each other, even in our just daily interactions at the workplace. And so people are our ministry. And that's who the Lord tells you to go, right? Go. You're not going to go see a destination. You're going to impact people. And early on, I'm a people person. I know not everybody is, but early on, I realized it doesn't matter where the Lord places us. He's placing us around a certain group of people to impact people.
Amen. Well, I'm glad that you finally have arrived at the final destination until you retire.
I pray
at age 75 or 80. And we're looking forward to many years of working together in the same team, pulling in the same direction. You and Lindsay, your family, are such a blessing to so many here, myself at the top of the list.
Awesome.
And great answer to prayer. And a great fit for Maranatha Athletics, for our overall program, and what we're trying to accomplish here in the lives of the students with the mission we believe God gave us.
Absolutely.
And so thank you for sharing how that unfolded and how that's played out and how it's still operating even yet today. Thanks for being here.
Right. Hey, thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to On Mission, a podcast produced by Maranatha Baptist University. No matter where you go to school, you're going to face the enormous social challenges of our world today. Where do you want to go through that developmental process? A place like Maranatha, designed to affirm your faith and help you think biblically? Or a secular college, dedicated to godless instruction in a God-free or truly anti-God environment that offers no hope, no joy, no faith, and certainly no peace? At Maranatha, you'll be surrounded by friends who have also chosen the path of truth and faculty who devote their lives to service. Maranatha is more than a Christian college. Find out more at mbu.edu. And for more information about our podcast guests and to listen to all the previous episodes, visit mbu.edu/podcast. Join us again next week as we examine what keeps leaders on mission.